talking about multi-digit whole number operations, and more specifically today, we're going to be talking about rounding and estimating and the difference between the two. And we talked a little bit about it already, but I kind of want to go a little deeper, so this will kind of give you a better understanding, I hope, about those two things. Um, Rounding, so rounding would be, so say we have a table, say this is a table, let's look at it like the top of the table, and I said that this was 4 feet 1 inch, right? And this is 3 feet exactly, right? So rounding would be taking our odd number, which is the 4 foot 1 inch, or we would see it like this usually, right? Um, and taking that and rounding it. So I would say that's about that's 4 feet if I rounded that number, right? It's 4 feet. So I would round it to 4 feet exactly. Okay, so I rounded down 4 foot 1 inch, 4.1 feet, right? However we're gonna look at that. So in this case, that would be rounding. Now, what if I take the same idea and I estimated? Well, the estimation would be in that I would say, well, that table's area, which is is width times length. So this would be width times length. The area would be, it's about 12 feet. It's about 12. When we estimate, we're going to do the about. It's about 12 feet. I need to fill in 12 feet. So if I do that, my table's about 12 feet in area. I know that if I want to make a tablecloth, I want to make sure that tablecloth is big enough so it's going to fit in there. So when we round numbers, we're rounding specific numbers, specific measurements, but we can also estimate too. So if I take this and I get rid of it, and I come back to my table idea and I'm just eyeing it, and I say, you know what, I think this is maybe about 4 feet, I would be estimating. I did not take a measurement of my table, I just kind of guessed. That's more of an estimation. When we round, we have an approximation. We can round to the nearest tenth. We could round to the nearest one, right? And so when we round numbers, we need to think, well, what is the most relevant thing that we're doing right here, right? So when we round numbers, we get an approximation of the actual number. We round specifics. So if I'm rounding 456, I could round it to 450, or I can round it to 500, neither of which would be wrong, depending upon what the question is asking. So that's kind of rounding. So let's dive in deeper to this, because the estimation part would be the answer that we got from rounding, right? The estimation is often the outcome of rounding. So let's take a look at a couple numbers and see if we really do understand rounding and how that works and how we can use that to kind of aid our multiplication. And it's also a good way to check answers. If you haven't done this, it's a cool way to check answers, because then you make sure that your answer's not too big or too small. That's how I use it. So here, again, we have 456 times 42. Now, if I'm rounding this, I'm going to see the 2, and this is like the tens place, right? So right here, that's in tens, 40, 4 tens, 2 ones, right? So 42. And this is hundreds, right? 456, so 456. And so when we do this, what we want to do to round it, whoops, that's behind normal. When we round it, I would round each number. So if I'm rounding 456, maybe I round to 500. I think that's going to be the easiest. I'm going to put 2 zeros in there. If I round to 450, now I have 45, right? I have 4 in the hundreds place and 5 in the tens. That's not making it easier for me. So I want to make it easy for me. And then if I round this one, I have 2 numbers. I'm just going to round to 40. And so now what happens, now that we've rounded, we can estimate what our answer is going to be. So if I estimated, let me erase this. So if I estimated this to be 500 times 40, I can say, well, this is going to be around, it's going to be around 20,000. Now, how did I get that? Well, let's do this. Well, what's 5 times 4? This is what I'm thinking. So let me put think. This is what I'm thinking. What's 5 times 4? I'm thinking 5 times 4 is 20, right? And then I got to multiply that 20, and look at how many zeros I have. If we count each zero, each one of these zeros is a multiplying by 10. So we have 3 of them, okay? We have 3 of them. So in this case, I'm doing 20 times 10 times 10 times 10. Or we can look at it in exponential form and say it's 20 times 10 to the third. Or we can look at it as 20 times 1,000, right? So then our final answer is what my original estimation was, which is up here, right? So that is how we would estimate. So let's try one more. I'm going to get rid of that. Just one more, and I want you to kind of think about this. I'm going to give you a chance. I want you to pause it, and I want you to estimate and see what you come up with, and then come back to this question. So what is this about? So first, you want to round the numbers, right? We're rounding. We're doing the specifics. 4,500. How are we going to do that? Well, it's got so many numbers. You know what I'm going to do? Pause it if you want to try this on yourself. I'm just going to round it to 5,000. And I'm going to go to the same number 42 and round that to 40. Again, 5 times 4 is 20, and I'm going to think, what is 20 being multiplied by? Well, I have 4 zeros, so it's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, or 10 to the fourth, which is equal to, I'm coming up here, 20 with 4 zeros. So I'm just going to make sure I put 4 zeros after 20, and I got 200,000. So that's how you would estimate and round. And what this helps you with, if I have this number and I say, well, I want you to first round it and then estimate what the answer is going to be. And then what if I said, well, what's the exact number? What you just did is you checked, my answer should be right around 200,000. So then when I do multiply these two numbers, I should get a number that's pretty close to 200,000. If I get something that's like 600,000, 300,000, 100,000, then I probably did an incorrect step or messed up in my math and my calculation in this problem. And that's why we do estimating and rounding. It's a good way to check your answer. So estimating and rounding helps you check your answers. And we did that already. We did that up there, so you can do it first. So mainly we're focusing right now on understanding how to do it, and then we're going to use it. It's kind of pushing us into being able to check our answers.